Good morning, everybody. Sorry, we're a couple minutes behind here, but we are up and running now. I do want to thank you all very much for taking the time to join us today. My name is Scott Earhart. I'm the Vice President, Head of Annuity Distribution here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. And today, Athene has been kind enough to uh, sponsor a amazing webinar for us. Going to go through some Social Security claiming and maximization with an absolute expert, Mr. Andy Robertson, here shortly. I got the pleasure to hear Andy speak just a few weeks ago, and you guys are going to just enjoy the heck out of this. A lot of great information and great tools to help you build your businesses. Before we get into all of that, I'm going to hit a few introductory slides and a couple of housekeeping items here very quickly. So let's hit those housekeeping items first. First and foremost, probably the most important thing you will hear me say today is in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That is our phone number. That number is 800-255-5055. If there's anything that I can be doing or my staff can be doing to help you in your practice, please let us know. Don't hesitate to give us a call. We'd love the opportunity to be speaking with you. Second housekeeping item are polling questions. As I run through the slide deck here, we're going to launch 2 to 3 polling questions throughout the presentation. Simple yes or no answers are all they are. If you take the time to participate in those, we really appreciate that. And then final housekeeping item or questions. Andy is a plethora of information on the subject. Absolutely one of the best experts I've ever heard speak on this topic. So I'm sure there are going to be some questions. Please feel free to type them in. We'll do the best we can to get them answered for you while we're in session. If we can't get them answered in session, certainly we will follow up with you with the answers. With a few, I just unmuted myself. There we go. Let me get into a few introductory slides here. First off, I want to talk about new producer builders. This is for anyone that is new to insurance agency marketing services, or if this is your first introduction to us here at IMES, you are eligible for this program. Basically, this is based on your production within your first 180 days of being licensed with IMES. As you can see, there are several great levels available, and inside each level, you've got some great options to choose from. If you'd like to learn more about this, give your sales director here at IMES a call. We'd love to chat with you about how we can help you qualify at one of these levels. IMES business builders definitely want to hit on this quickly as we are handing off, before we hand off to Andy. These 2 programs that I'm going to highlight here are all about how we can help you grow your practice and basically put more money in your pocket. And we'll start with the referred producer program. Basically, here at IMES on the wholesale side of the industry, one of the best leads that we can ever obtain is a referral, just like you in the field, from one of our valued clients. So we want to make it worth your while to refer other producers to us. And this is how we do it. When you refer a producer to us and they pick up any license through IMES, we're going to send you a $50 thank you check. And now where the real money comes in is as your referred producer writes business, you are going to receive an override on that business. You can see the percentages there. Can be very lucrative for you. We do cut these checks at least quarterly, and I know that our ownership group signs checks that total into the thousands every quarter. So can be very lucrative. If you would, if you can think of anyone that could benefit from doing business with us here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services, please feel free to type their information into the questions box. Feel free to email me their information. My email address is scott@imesinc.com. Or when your sales director reaches out to you for follow-up, please feel free to let them know who they are. We'll do the best we can to get them recruited here to IMES and get you on your way to earning some referred producer dollars. Below that is our most popular program. That's marketing reimbursement. You can see the rough numbers on marketing reimbursement there and how you earn dollars. Why this program is so popular with us is that we really consider this to be your money. We're not going to cap your account. We don't make you cash your account out at any certain time. And probably what our advisors appreciate about the most is we put very few restrictions on vendors. So if you have someone that you're working with that has helped you generate leads or helped you market your practice, we want to encourage you to continue working with them, and we will do so by helping you offset the cost there. Basically, you send us an invoice or receipt from the marketing expense you had, we cut you a check and get it out, hopefully the same day we receive that invoice, and help you offset that cost. If you'd like to know how much is in your marketing reimbursement account, or if you'd like more details on how it works, just give your sales director a call. Moving on to the back office support slide, this is really the heart of who we are here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services and what we've been doing for the last 36 years. We help you work smarter, not harder. We're going to do that with great business building tools and resources. You're going to see some of the great resources we can bring here when we hand it over to Andy. Case design assistance and life and annuity quotes. We're going to put a 24-hour guarantee on your case design here, whether it's life insurance or annuities, whatever it may be. We're going to get that out to you within 24 hours of the time you request it. Forms at your fingertips. You can dial 800-255-5055. You can go to the website, and we're going to get you the proper forms that you need in a very, very timely fashion. Commission to submission support. We've got an amazing new business team here. They do a great job of scrubbing apps, submitting apps, really helping you get commissioned in a much, much faster fashion, helping you get the policies delivered in a much, much faster fashion. And that's just part of the service proposition that we make here at IMES. There is no additional fee for that. Top sales expertise and coaching. We do have national sales coaches that work with our advisors to help you grow your practice. And then paperless contracting. We are on the SuranceBay platform. About 90% of all of our carriers are on the SuranceBay platform. We can get rid of the hand cramps that we all used to experience of filling out individual licensing, have you fill out licensing agreement one time, and then add on any carriers that you need from there. If you have any questions on any of these highlights, just let us know. We'd love to walk you through it in greater detail. Firelight, definitely want to mention this. We are on the Firelight platform that can be accessed at imesinc.com. You can see a list of carriers that we currently have on the platform right now. If you haven't ever done an e-app before, I'd tell you to give it a try. It's really, really easy to utilize, very easy for clients, and it really will limit your not in good order business. Firelight really has done a lot, and Grant could, if Grant has a second, he could speak to it even more than I can. I know that we love it as an IMO, but carriers are experiencing just amazing levels with the e-app system, and definitely worthwhile. I'd encourage you to give it a shot if you haven't already. Our creative marketing team, we do have a creative department here at IMES that is available to you. We can help you brand yourself. We can help you market your practice or market certain products, and we can help you with digital solutions. Your sales director is going to be your portal to the creative team. We've got some basic fact finders that we do for the type of marketing or the type of creative design that you're looking for. We'd certainly love to help you with that. It is available to all of our licensed agents. So please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you brand yourself or market your practice. We would certainly love the opportunity to assist with that. Our website, I've mentioned it here a few times already, but imesinc.com. If you haven't gone out there and created a account yet, as soon as this presentation is over, I would highly encourage you to do so. It definitely is worthwhile. A lot of great things out there. Firelight that I mentioned earlier, a lot of industry news is out there. Our product grids are out there. Access to Annuity Rate Watch, quote requests are out there. All sorts of great things available to you at imesinc.com that simply by registering you can gain access to. Retirement Analyzer, this is one of my favorite tools that we make available to our producers in this era of heightened compliance, in this era of best interest. Really what I call it is long division, being able to show your work and why you've made recommendations that you have. This is a great tool to help you do that. And the reason why I really like Retirement Analyzer is I think not only will it help you as far as making product recommendations and design recommendations, but it's a closing tool as well, because in very, very easy to see plain language, it will show a client why they are in a better position because they've implemented your product or design recommendations as compared to where they were before doing business with you. If you'd like more information on Retirement Analyzer, Marcus Solar in our office is our point man for that. Give him a call. He could certainly get you out some information on it and show you how great of a tool it is. IMS Wealth Management. As I talk about our RIA, I'm going to launch our first poll of the day, just asking you if you'd like more information about IMS Wealth Management. We founded IMS Wealth, I don't know, almost 5 years ago now. So really has been a great endeavor for us. And we founded IMS Wealth under the same principles that IMS, the IMO, is. It is an advisor-centric company. You are going to have live people answer the phone. They are there for support. They are there for training, all about the advisor and making it a great interface for you. And because of that, it makes it a great interface for your clients as well. If you have considered adding assets under management into your practice, I'd encourage you to click yes. We do have some great training partners to help you pass that Series 65 exam. And if you are already an IAR, I would tell you to click yes, just to kick the tires of IMS Wealth Management. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the package that we bring to the table, the technology, the service, and the fee structure. Very, very competitive in the industry. With that being said, I do want to move on quickly so we can get to Mr. Robertson here. So if you haven't taken the time to click yes or no, if you would please do so. Certainly do appreciate everyone's participation there. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, let's move on here. Oh, fun slide, fun slide. We are still qualifying for our Top Producer Summit. This is going to be one heck of a trip. We are doing a Mediterranean cruise. You can see the ports of call there. You can see the dates. 4.5 million points qualify you for this. There is still plenty of time to qualify, as the qualification period does not end till June 30th of next year. So very excited about this. This is going to be an amazing trip. Anyone on the call that has been to one of the Top Producer Summits before can tell you there is no expense spared on these. This is really one of the best summits, for lack of a better term, you could ever attend. You and your guest will be treated with a 5-star quality. You will get the opportunity to interact with IMS staff, other top producers in the industry. You will find this very, very worthwhile for your time, and a great reward for your business, and a great training opportunity for you as well. Definitely want to mention this, since Athene is with us today. Our Escape to Paradise qualification through the end of the year, $2 million in Athene business gets you and a guest a trip to Hilton Head Island. We are really excited about that. Going to have a great meeting there. Going to have some great experiences, whether it's golf, shopping, spa, whatever it may be. It's a beautiful, beautiful resort, the Omni there. And one thing I do want to mention, we are in double trip credit mode on this right now. So that $2 million qualifier, if you submit $1 million in business by the end of November and it's paid by December 31st, that will qualify you on this trip. All of those submissions do also qualify you toward the Top Producer Summit, that Mediterranean cruise. So really, really want to thank Athene. This is probably our 5th or 6th trip we've done with Athene. It's been a great partnership, one we hope to continue in the future, and definitely would love to have you join us here. And Athene's got some great product right now, definitely an industry leader. So next time you're looking for some case design from us, definitely ask about Athene and how we can help get you towards the Escape to Paradise. Top Producer or Life and Annuity Academy. We just got done doing an academy with Athene, which was very successful. That's where I got to hear Andy speak, and it was quite worthwhile. We are done with academies for the remainder of 2021, but we will certainly have them again in 2022. So keep on the lookout for announcements of that. I think you'll probably see announcements start flowing out early 2022, but it's definitely a worthwhile 3-day trip for your business. You will learn a lot of strategies to help you market yourself better, to help you grow your business, to help you position product better. Really looking forward to being able to hold multiple life and annuity academies in the new year. Shameless plug here. Like us, follow us. We are on social media platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn, and they are They are definitely a great resource for you and a great way for us to push out quick information. So when we're done with this presentation, please, if you haven't taken the time to follow us or like us, take the time to do so. We'll get you some great information there. With that being said, I am going to hand it over to Mr. Smith to do some introductions here. Grant, go ahead, and Andy, while he is doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make you the host and give you control.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks, Scotty. And I want to just quickly introduce myself. And my name is Grant Smith, and I'm the Regional Vice President with Athene. And we've had a very important relationship with IAMS. And to all the attendees on the phone with us today, you guys are in for a treat to hear about Social Security, which is really the first original annuity of its kind, right? And so now we have a keynote speaker here on the phone with us that's going to help you complement your income planning and how to tee up Social Security. So I'm going to just, I'd be remiss without saying Athene has taken initiative to be the industry's leader in value-add content, but specifically with Social Security. So as financial professionals, the topic of Social Security is an important one, and this is especially one for your clients, as everybody's going to have to cross that path soon. So that's why we made it our content readily available. So if you're not already contracted with Athene, I would challenge and ask you to get contracted. We've invested millions of dollars in our value add content. And again, surrounding Social Security, we have pre-meeting marketing kits, during meeting marketing kits, and post-meeting marketing kits, all on the topic of Social Security with user-friendly language to help tee up your conversations, especially as you plan around index annuity sales. So I just wanted to certainly hit on that to let you know what we have there. But let me just quickly pivot over to Andy Robertson, our keynote speaker. I'm just going to let you know a little bit about him before I hand him the reins. But Andy, he's the founder and president of Capital Indemnity Group, creator and architect of Social Security optimization planning process, and is currently a vice president for the industry award-winning Corporation for Social Security Planning Strategies. What Andy does is he coaches financial professionals just like you and trains some of the most accomplished advisors in the marketplace today all around retirement planning. And that's what we're here to do today with you. So through his comprehensive understanding of the Social Security market, Andy teaches how Social Security is uniquely qualified to combat the otherwise devastating effects of longevity, inflation, and taxes have on one's overall portfolio, especially as they enter the golden years of their life. So this fresh approach you're going to hear today is going to be a quantifiable one at that. It's going to aim to change the conversation you have around income planning, helping your clients meet their retirement goals day in and day out. So with that, I'm going to hand the baton over to Andy to kick off today's presentation. And I want to say thanks again for everybody's attendance, and we'll certainly be following up with you. Thanks again.
Great. Thanks, Brant. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. And I just want to say up front that if you need a speaker at that Europe event, let me know. I'll be happy to make myself available. That looks like a great trip.
I will let Stephen Charles know, Andy.
Awesome. Terrific. That is a great trip. I've done that trip before. It's a trip of a lifetime. I'll say to anybody on the call, if you can make that trip, it's a can't miss trip. Well, thanks again for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk with other financial advisors and kind of share my story. I'm sure that most of you have talked about or even leveraged Social Security on your in your business on a daily basis. My message and my story is just a little bit different maybe than what you've been doing and what you've heard about Social Security in the past. So historically, when folks talk about Social Security and specifically what I'll refer to as Social Security planning, usually what we're talking about is this concept of Social Security maximization. So really kind of looking at Social Security in a vacuum, using maybe a third-party tool that asks how old somebody is now, when they intend to retire, and then ultimately, how long they think they're going to live. So these software platforms will ask you, how long do you need the income to last? And if you can't decide, they'll fall back essentially on a mortality table, and they'll do a back-end calculation and spit back out to you, if you live till 87 and your spouse lives till 88, this is the perfect Social Security filing strategy purely from a cash extraction perspective. And while I get that analysis, I really felt as though that was just scratching the surface, that there was so much more that Social Security could bring as a planning tool to the table. In probably about, I can't even recall now, maybe 10 years ago, I decided that I really wasn't satisfied with the tools that I had been seeing and thought, how complicated can it be? How hard could it possibly be to build my own software and build my own program? And I'll say this to you, after a year and a half, I don't think I could do it again. It took me about a year and a half to build it. I don't think today I could do it again, but 2,728 filing rules alone that go into all the possible 500 and some odd different possibilities is mind-numbing in and of itself. But within all of that is a real opportunity as a financial advisor or for a financial advisor for you to totally differentiate yourself from the competition when it comes to retirement income planning. And that's the goal of Social Security optimization. How can you leverage Social Security to combat the erosive effects of longevity, inflation, and taxes? I'm sure most folks on this call are familiar with Tom Hegna. Tom Hegna does a great job talking about all the risks we have to manage in the retirement phase. And the one thing that I always drive home with everybody is a statement that he makes, which is longevity is the ultimate risk multiplier. This is longevity coupled with anything is really what creates the environment where most people are in trouble financially in retirement. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to use this presentation as much as a backdrop as anything else. I'm going to fly through some slides. This is a presentation I developed in conjunction with a theme that can be used with the public, but there's some great material on here that'll drive home the message that I have for you here this morning. So several years ago, looking at Senior Market Advisor, I saw a quote from a financial advisor in Ohio, John Zide, and he said, "The fear of dying has been replaced by the fear of living too long." And I think he perfectly summed up what we're up against as financial advisors. This is really what we're challenged with tackling every day. And the world has changed. You all can remember, if you were in the business in the 90s, that the narrative around retirement income planning was very positive. Today it's very, I don't know if it's negative or fear driven, but the world has changed. When you think about what you see, both in print, online, television, on television, we went from retirement looking like an incredible part of your life to fear. The one that stands out to me, and I think I mentioned this when I was in Des Moines, was, I believe it was Prue, where they had these couples standing up against a wall and they start walking down a path, and eventually the path lights up and it indicates that they're out of money. And that's really what most people are concerned about. And again, what I'm going to talk about is how Social Security optimization specifically can help you turn the tides as it relates to this challenge and put people in a significantly better position. So when we talk about Social Security, as you know, it's really the old age survivor and disability insurance program. It was never meant to be the primary income source for 76 million people. It was really designed to keep the elderly and the sick out of poverty. But here we are, 2021 is the primary income source for half a generation. So we really need to make sure that we're maximizing and optimizing Social Security in a way that no one else is talking about. So you all know you can take benefits early, you can delay. And if I take benefits early, there's a reduction that's permanent. And if I delay, I can get more. I can get how much more depends on what year you're born. Well, the people we're talking to today, certainly they were all born, the ones we want to talk were all born after 1943, so they can get a delayed retirement credit of 8%. By the way, that 8%, as you probably know, is simple, not compound interest. And that's simply because Social Security does not apply the delayed retirement credit until you actually file for benefits. So there's just no opportunity for compounding because the delayed retirement credit is not applied until you file for benefits. But nevertheless, what I know about people from doing this now for years and hosting hundreds of workshops is most people understand the basics of, if I take benefits early, there's going to be a reduction, and if I wait, I'm going to get more. But what a lot of folks aren't clear on is, what is the difference under current Social Security formulas? What is the difference that I'll receive at 70 versus 62? So over here, I have what I call the lifespan of a primary insurance amount, a PIA. So as I think you all know, your primary insurance amount is your retirement income benefit at full retirement age, or if you want to speak Social Security, your PIA is your RIB at FRA. And ultimately, the primary insurance amount is or the full retirement age is a moving target. But for the purposes of our conversation, we'll assume everybody's full retirement age is 66, which means they were born in 1954 or prior. But here's the point. Many people take benefits early. Many people come to workshops predisposed to taking benefits early, and statistics prove that out. But I will tell you that from practical experience, they're not taking benefits early after conducting some detailed quantitative analysis. It's truly an emotional decision, and there are several things they don't understand and don't take into consideration when making that decision, and this is one of them. So what I'm going to show you today is the two extremes. What could you get as early as possible, 62, versus what you would get at 70? So if I met you and you were 62 and you were born 1954 prior, and you asked me what to do, the first thing I would say, well, do you know that if you don't take benefits at 62, you don't take benefits at FRA, and you wait all the way till 70, then under current formulas, you're guaranteed to get at least 76% more. It cannot be less, but it could be more. And I put that out there because I know many of the people who are thinking about retiring and thinking about taking benefits early, what they'll tell you if you press them is their intent is to take benefits, keep working, and when you ask them why, it's always an emotional answer. Well, it's mine. I put in, I want to get it out. Social Security may not be here. I may not be here. I always find it interesting, the idea that Social Security may not be here. I may not be here, because in the end, we'll ask them another question, which is when we go to build you a retirement income plan, how long would you like the retirement income plan to last? And typically, the answer we'll get is 25, 30, 35 years. So unless somebody has some kind of chronic illness or terminal illness that they're dealing with, the standard answer is 25 or 30 years. So they know intuitively that if they're going to build a retirement income plan, they have to prepare for the worst. But when it comes to Social Security, they look at it independently of the plan and say, I'm going to take it early because I may not be here. And we'll ask them, what happened to not being here? I thought you were concerned that you wouldn't be here at 70, so you wanted to take benefits early. They see them as two separate things. We bring this conversation together so that they can see them as one and the same. But the point I want to make to you is many of the people, before they get educated, they're thinking, I'll take benefits early, I'll keep working, I'll take what I could get at 62, I'll invest it, I'll grow it, right? I'll build a secondary retirement account. And then if I'm still here at 70, I didn't give up anything between 62 and 70, and I'll use whatever I accumulate between 62 and 70 to match the 76% increase that Social Security would have provided. Now, there's a couple of challenges they're going to face. Number one is the earnings test, but forgetting that for a minute, one of the things we'll focus on today is how big of a challenge is that? Matching the minimum increase you're guaranteed if you wait to take benefits at 70 rather than take benefits at 62. So I'm not here to tell you that everybody should take benefits at 70. You'll see where this conversation is going in the end. I'm just trying to compare and contrast the two extremes so that you can see how we get people to look at Social Security differently and have an objective conversation about the role Social Security can play in building better, more fortified retirement income plans for what we believe is the most critical aspect, less capital. So with that in mind, I'm going to skip ahead a couple of slides here and just talk about when people take benefits and the challenges are up against. So as I said earlier, historically, people have taken benefits. We know why they take benefits. It's not necessarily after some deep quantitative analysis. It's typically emotional. That's evidenced by the fact that they want the plan to last 30 years, but they're taking a Social Security benefit, assuming they're only going to be here for 8. But beyond that, one of the things we open their eyes to in our workshop is if you take benefits early, you're going to run into a little bit of a challenge, and that's the earnings test. So if you earn more than $18,960 in 2020, for every $2 you're over that threshold, you forfeit $1 in benefits. And this is a critical kind of educational component because a lot of people don't really understand what's going to happen here. Some people will tell me, well, if I'm over the threshold to the extent that I have to forfeit half of my benefit. So let's say your benefit at 62 would be $2,000 a month. And because they're over the threshold by $24,000, they think, well, I'm going to forfeit 12 out of the $24,000. That's okay. I'm going to get a $1,000 a month check, right, instead of a $2,000 a month check. And that's what they have in their mind. And it's critical to help them understand that's not how it works, because I know most households are run on a cash flow basis. So my position is very clear. If you cross over this threshold, every $2 you're over that threshold, you forfeit $1 in benefits, meaning you don't get that dollar, and Social Security will not issue a check. So in my example, if your monthly benefit at 62, even after the reduction for taking early, was going to be $2,000 a month, and under the earnings test dictates that you're going to have to forfeit $12,000 of those $24,000 in benefits this year. You don't get half the benefit every month for 12 months. You don't get $1,000 a month for 12 months. You get zero for 6 months. So you'll go from January through June, and you will not receive a check. It's going to be pretty difficult to execute this plan that a lot of people have in their mind, which is I'm going to take benefits early and keep working, and I'm going to build a secondary retirement account and use that secondary retirement account to match the increase that would have been guaranteed had I waited, if in fact you don't get your hands on the checks. And just a simple thought for you on this. So what would it take to forfeit all $24,000? If my benefit was $2,000 a month at 62, what would my earned income have to be? We'll take the $24,000 in total that I'm going to receive, right, and add, if I want to forfeit the whole thing, double that, the 48, and add the 18,960, which is the threshold. So you're talking just under $70,000 in earned income, and you'd forfeit the whole benefit. So in this day and age, the people we want to talk to, the people who have real retirement assets, also typically have a decent income. And if they move forward with this strategy, they're going to find out the hard way that their plan isn't going to work because they're never going to get their hands on their checks. And the other thing to consider is this: the earnings test goes away at FRA, but as time goes on, FRA is getting longer, not shorter, right? So many people think when they think about when they're going to take benefits, they think about this concept of break even. And they say, well, I don't want to wait till 70 to take benefits because I'm going to go 8 years without receiving anything. And then, of course, if I didn't live till I was 78 or 79, I would have given up a lot of income. If I died at 70, I would have given up all that potential income. And if I don't live till, call it 79, I wouldn't have broken even. The issue is, if you're not getting these checks, then the break-even analysis starts to fall apart, or certainly look a little different. It's not 8 years, maybe it's 4 years maximum. And then the reality, it's shrinking to 3 years, right? Because those born 1960 or later, FRA is now 67. So the earnings test is going to be in place longer and longer as we get deeper into the planning process with these folks. So it becomes more and more punitive. So this is a critical piece. Once we help them understand that if their intent is to take benefits and keep working, that they're never going to get their hands on the check, the conversation around when and how to take benefits changes from an emotional discussion to a logical discussion, because in many instances, we're talking about giving up maybe 36 months in checks or something like that versus 96 months. So moving on with this conversation here, many people ask me, why are you fixated on Social Security? And the answer is simple, because when we look at the negative advertising that's going on as it relates to retirement income planning, it all lands back in the same spot, which is this idea that the vast majority of Americans are crummy savers. And as they said at the National Institute on Retirement Security, 77% of Americans are not on pace to meet their savings targets. This is nothing new. We see this stat every day. What they're really saying is 77% of Americans are going to be underfunded. I'm not sharing this statistic with you as financial advisors because I don't think you've seen it before. I'm sharing it with you because it's something critical you have to know. Pardon. And what that is that every research project conducted that provides us with this outcome, that Americans are crummy savers and the vast majority are going to be underfunded, they all assume everyone is going to take Social Security benefits early. Now, I understand why they make that assumption, because when we look at what people have historically done, they have taken benefits early. But by not looking a little deeper at how Social Security taking benefits at a different time, how Social Security can completely change this paradigm for retiring boomers, we miss a tremendous opportunity. Or they miss a tremendous opportunity, but it creates a tremendous opportunity for all of us, because we're going to show people through the educational process that we have in the Athene Retirement Optimizer that I built for Athene. We're going to show people exactly, quantitatively, how taking benefits at a different time can address this issue. And what you're going to find is in many instances, the issue is not that people haven't saved enough money, but in reality, they're just not leveraging the right strategy. So that's my goal for the remainder of our presentation. I want to completely torpedo this narrative and show you how Social Security is the one last opportunity you have as a financial advisor to rescue maybe an otherwise doomed retirement income plan. Some people say, why Social Security, Andy? Why are you so fixated on Social Security? Well, if you think about it, in 2021, there are very few income vehicles that you have at your disposal as a planner that look like this. The income's paid for life. The higher of the two benefits is guaranteed for the surviving spouse. It's automatically inflation adjusted, and we're going to talk about that. It's highly tax efficient, which is something that is often overlooked. And unlike some of the financial institutions we learned in 2008 were too big to fail, this particular income platform is backed by a government promise. So for many, it is the single most stable source of retirement income they have, and how they leverage it can be the difference between whether or not their retirement is a success or a disaster. So to kind of drive the point I was making home earlier, which is, what is the likelihood that I could take benefits at 62 and at 70 actually have enough capital to match the 76% increase I would have been guaranteed had I waited to take benefits until 70. And again, my goal is not to convince you everybody should wait till 70, but get you to look at the other side of this equation and understand just how tall of an order this really is. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a quick case study here. Let's say we have a husband and wife, and their primary insurance amounts to $2,650 and $2,000. And what they're contemplating is taking benefits at 62 or taking benefits at 70. So if they take benefits at 62, their benefits will be reduced by 25%. So they get $34.88 a month in their household if they take benefits at 62. And let's just leave the earnings test out of the discussion for a minute. Conversely, we know that if they wait till 70, under current formulas, they're guaranteed to get at least 76% more, or in this case, $26.51 per month more, beginning at 70 than what they would have received had they taken benefits at 62. What I really want to explore for the people that I educate, and of course for the advisors that we work with, is how big of a challenge is this? If I take the $34.88 a month, what will I have to earn in a compounded annual growth rate to have enough capital at 70 to actually match this increase, the 76% increase? So in order to do that, we wanted to first quantify what the increase was. It's $26.51 per month, or $31,812 more per year at 70 than we would have gotten at 62. But to understand what the actual projected compounding annual growth rate needs to be, we had to apply some kind of analytical approach or process. So I use what I call a credible process, the safe withdrawal research that's abundant and we can all access. Most of us know the 4% safe max that Bengen provided in the early 90s, and then it was supported later in the 90s by the Trinity study. 4% was the initial safe withdrawal rate, and you can increase it by 2.5% per year. And over 25 or 30 years, you have an 85% likelihood that you won't run out of money. So a pretty solid analytical approach to determining what I'll call a capital requirement to match the increase. But the one thing we have to remember about all the safe withdrawal research that was provided from Bengen and Trinity and many of the others is that 4% number is a gross number. So meaning that's not the net in your pocket number. That's the gross number, and then any cost comes off the top of that. So to truly understand how much capital will have to accumulate to match that 76% increase, we had to pare down the number and account for fees. So we did two things. We said, first of all, 85% as a probability of success is not in line with the probability that you'll get that 76% increase from Social Security. So we went with a 90+% probability of success, which drove that gross number down from 4 to 3.4. And then we assumed 100 basis points in fees off the top for the financial advisor. So ultimately, the net in your pocket initial withdrawal rate would be 2.4%. So the question was, $31,812 is the additional income we'll need to provide it's 70 to match what Social Security would have provided, how much capital will we need to have on hand to deliver 31,812 if the net in your pocket, say for Gerard, is 2.4%? And here's the number: $1,325,500. So again, this is as much for you as it is for any client or prospect we may talk to, but we really want them to understand what this represents. So if you do the math, and I welcome you to do so, what you'll learn is that in order to have that much capital in 8 years, if we save $34.88 a month like clockwork, and you're not affected by the earnings test or taxation, and you have the intestinal fortitude to save it all, what would you have to earn as a compounding annual growth rate over that 8-year period? Just shy of 30%. And if you did so, if you were lucky enough to do so, and that's all you'd be is lucky, I think we can all agree, to get that type of a return, all you would have succeeded in doing is matching the 76% increase you already guaranteed under current Social Security formula. So again, I'm not suggesting everybody wait till 70. What I'm suggesting, though, is to make the right decision, we have to understand all of the factors here. So now, taking this to another level and hoping I'm on pace here time-wise, earlier I told you that there was a 76% increase on the current Social Security formulas between 62 and 70 for somebody who has an FRA of 66. And the point I made was it could not be less, but it could be more. Well, how could it be more? Here's how it could be more. So once you reach that first year of entitlement, 62, whether you take benefits or not, every year that a cost of living adjustment is declared, your primary insurance amount, which is the number that all benefits are predicated on, that primary insurance amount is adjusted accordingly, and it's done so on a compounded basis. Just had the highest cost of living adjustment we've had in God only knows how long. You can see on here, but it was 5.9%. I don't think we've had anything like that since maybe the late 70s here. But the point is that even though you're not collecting benefits, your primary insurance amount is benefiting every time a cost of living adjustment is declared, and it's benefiting on a compounded basis because unlike the late retirement credits, COLAs are applied each year. So let's just kind of play this out. Let's say that I met you and you were 62 and you were asking me, what would you do? And what I would do is compare and contrast all my options. And the one thing I would want you to understand is in 2012, if I met you when you were 62, I would say at 70, you're going to get at least 76% more. Cannot be less, but it could be more. How could it be more? Well, let's say you attain 62 on January 1st, 2012. Every year that a cost of living adjustment was declared between 2012 and 2020, the primary insurance amount is adjusted on a compounded basis accordingly, and then the 32% delayed retirement credits is stacked on top of that. So how would that have played out? Instead of a 76% increase, you would have ended up with a 100% increase. I've been doing this since 2011. I've seen that number, that historical number, in the time frames that I've been looking at, which started in 2011, as high as 119%. But my point is, you needed to earn nearly 30% in a compounded annual growth rate just to match the 76% increase. And I think you would all agree that's certainly not attainable. So obviously, if we're not going to attain that, we're not going to be able to match this. But there's some real economic value here that we've got to consider before we make a decision. And economic value really comes down to the impact or role it can play in minimizing the amount of capital it takes for a plan to succeed. So I'll kind of wrap this up by looking at a case study. So let's say we have a husband and wife, both age 66, and they're contemplating taking benefits at FRA versus 70. 62 is no longer on the table, typically because once the people we want to talk to understand the impact of the earnings test, then the consideration is FRA, in this case 66 and 70. So let's say the income goal is 85,000, and they've accumulated 800,000 in retirement assets, and what they want to know is based upon what they have for Social Security income, what they have for assets, and their goals, which is they want the income to last for 30 years and they want a 90+% probability of success. Is $800,000 enough for this plan to succeed? And this is the beauty of the Athene Retirement Optimizer. It's a bit of a crystal ball where we can plug in somebody's numbers and tell them up front before we ever pull the trigger on any Social Security strategy whether or not the capital they have is sufficient enough for the plan to succeed. So here's a quick example of that. Again, using those same numbers, the primary insurance amount of $2,650 for him and 2,000 for her. If they take benefits at 66, Social Security is going to provide 55,800 a year out of the 85,000. If they wait till 70, we know Social Security is going to provide at least 32% more. In that case, it would be 73,688. So what we want to do is use these numbers and compare them to the income goal and back into what the capital requirement would be if they took benefits early at 66 or later at 70. So to do so, I'm just going to build on what we've already learned. So the earliest gap, 85,000 minus 55,800 is 29,200. The later's gap is smaller because the delayed retirement credits make the benefit 32% larger. We'll come back to this number in a minute because we're going to have to inflation adjust that to keep things on a level playing field. But look at the early. So their gap is 29,200. So as a financial advisor, normally what happens, people come in, they've kind of made their mind up or they've already pulled the trigger on Social Security, and they tell you I have an $85,000 income goal. Social Security is providing 55,800. I have $800,000 to deliver the 29,200. And reality is your hands are tied. You know, they've put you in a position where you can only do what you can do. So in many instances, we're building a strategy of hope. We're not going to turn away an $800,000 client. But at the end of the day, in many instances, this capital is not going to be enough. And we know it. And there's not much we can do until today. So the earliest, the gap is 29,200. How much capital do we need? We're going to stress test this portfolio up front again before they make any decisions and determine if the 800,000 is enough to meet their objectives, which is 30 years and a 90+% probability of success. So to do so, we're going to follow the same logic we followed before. 29,200 divided by the net in your pocket, say withdrawal at 2.4. They need $1.2 million. Do they have $1.2 million? No, they have 800,000. How far off are they? They're way off, right? They need 50% more than they have in order to achieve their objectives. If they move forward with this plan for what it's worth, they have about a 50% probability of success. By the way, these are the exact numbers that those research projects see. And this is why they say the vast majority of people are underfunded, because they assume everybody's going to take the benefits early like we're doing here. And as a result, they need significantly more capital than they have. So they end up on the wrong side of that equation. But what if we took the benefits at a different time? So the first thing we do is we inflation adjust that gap, because now we're waiting until they're 70 to take benefits. So 4 years later, the gap, if we inflate it by 2.5%, is actually 12,522. Now Social Security benefits kick in. The safe withdrawal rate they're going to use to quantify the capital required to close this gap is higher because we're 4 years into the 30-year time horizon. So we've got a smaller gap and a bigger or larger safe withdrawal rate. So the capital requirement to close that $12,522 inflation adjusted income gap from 70 and beyond is $463.68. It's considerably less than $1.2 million if we take benefits early. But we've got to remember they're still retiring at 66. So what happens from 66 to 70? So we'll quantify how much capital they'll need to have on hand in this example to carry themselves from 66 to 70. We call this the bridge period, and we quantify the amount of capital of their own that they're going to have to use to carry them during that time as the bridge capital. So we take 85,000 inflated by 2.5% per year for 4 years, and this is what we need to cover the bridge period. Of course, we've already quantified, and we've done it again down here, what they need to close the gap from 70 and beyond, and the total capital required is 813,332. So real quick, what happened here? Just so we're all on the same page. We took the same income goal, the same time horizon, the same inflation assumption, the same retirement assets, the same PIAs. Everything is exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same. The only difference between the earlies and the laters is when and how they take benefits, and the impact on the probability of success of this plan is profound. They go from 50% underfunded and about a 50% probability of failure to nearly fully funded with a goal of meeting a 90+% probability of success. They have 800, they need 813. So what's the economic value of Social Security in this case? Here it is right here. Here's the value of taking Social Security at a different time brought to the planning process, and ultimately you save that client. Now, what are the other options? Prior to the introduction of this idea and this software, you'd have to just move forward with that plan, take a strategy of hope, or recommend they reduce their income needs or their income expectations. They keep working, continue saving. Maybe they get more aggressive, but of course that can backfire. Today, through the use of the Athene Retirement Optimizer, and this strategy that we employ, you can show people how Social Security can be the difference between having a comfortable and secure retirement and living on the edge of your seat the rest of your life. Now, to close it out, not only have we built a plan for significantly less capital, but we're delivering a plan that's much more tax efficient as well. So by the time they're 70, the inflation adjusted income goal has grown from 85,000 to 93,824 for both, regardless of whether they take benefits earlier or later. Social Security income has grown from where it was to 61,593. And just so we're clear, if we're going to assume any kind of inflationary pressure on the income goal, then it stands to reason we have to do the same with Social Security. So in both instances, we're applying a 2.5% inflation factor. Of course, the difference is the laters are going to have 32% more thanks to DRCs. Now, the gap, which we're going to assume is fully filled by a fully taxable IRA distribution from the 800,000. For the earlies is 32,231, up from 29,2. The laters, of course, we've already established, is 12,522. The taxable Social Security is 22,173 for the earlies, so out of 61,593, 22,173 is taxable. And for the laters, they've got 32% more guaranteed Social Security income, and they've only got $13,797 of taxable Social Security income. So when you add together that fully tax-infested IRA distribution to cover the gap and the taxable Social Security, what you have is not only a plan that's delivered for significantly less capital and taking them from woefully underfunded to effectively fully funded, but the total taxable income on 93,824 is 26,319. And what we're delivering here effectively is a tax-free retirement income plan, because in 2020, a married couple, finally jointly, both over age 65, their standard deduction alone is 27,800. So we'd be delivering this 93,824 income tax-free at age 70 and beyond. So I don't know how we're doing for time, and I don't want to run over. I could get into the weeds on the tax piece. You guys tell me if you think there's enough time, but hopefully I've given you guys enough of a kind of a look at this that you can decide if you think this is something maybe you want to explore further.
Andy, the time is yours. So if you've got time, you go ahead. One thing I do want to do right now for everybody real quick as you're talking is I'm going to launch our last poll of the day, and that's asking individuals if they'd like to become appointed with Athene to gain access to this information. So if you want to talk and keep going, go ahead, boss. And that poll is up for everyone to participate in. As soon as we get to full participation, I'll get it closed out.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the taxation of Social Security benefits. There's a lot of things around Social Security that can be confusing, and I know the earnings test and taxation is one of those things. People kind of conflate the two, and they get confused about whether it goes away or it stays. I've had people tell me, once I reach full retirement age, I don't have to pay taxes on my Social Security benefit. Of course, they're confusing that with the earnings test, which says once you reach FRA, you can make as much money as you want, and you're never going to forfeit any benefits. But the taxation on Social Security benefits, the possibility of being taxed on Social Security benefits is forever. And I find it interesting. I've been in this business. I'm in my 32nd year now, and always, whether it's a publication or speakers, I hear people say, well, once you're in retirement, you're in a lower income tax bracket. And I've struggled, for the last nearly 32 years to find this so-called retirement income tax bracket. I find it humorous that people continue to beat that drum when, in fact, there is no separate tax code for retirees. And we're talking about income tax. FICA certainly can go away if you don't have earned income, but as it relates to your income tax and what you owe, it's predicated as always in retirement on what you have for income. But Social Security is treated differently than any other form of income anybody will have ever had prior to collecting Social Security. It falls under the provisional income in the IRS code, and they use the provisional income formula for determining how much your Social Security benefit is taxed. So not only are people confused about earnings tax versus taxation of Social Security benefits, but the other area I find people are often confused by are these thresholds you see on the right. So a lot of people are aware that if they have over a certain number, then up to 50% of the benefit can be taxed. And then if they're over another threshold, up to 85% of their benefit can be taxed. What they don't understand is what number are they using in applying this threshold to. So that number is the provisional income formula. And basically, the provisional income formula looks at two things. They look at your modified adjusted gross income, which is just a fancy way of saying all your earned, unearned, and tax-free dividend income. So tax-free dividend income, while it's not income taxable, it's countable under provisional income for determining how much your Social Security benefit is taxed. So 100% of your earned, unearned, tax-free dividend income is countable under provisional income, but only 50% of your Social Security benefit is countable. And this is where the magic happens. So that 50% number is a huge value from a tax perspective, as you'll see in a minute. But it's that number, those two numbers combined give us the provisional income number, and then it's that number that's compared to these thresholds. So for instance, if I have $63,999, $999, my wife and I have Social Security income, and we have no other income, and we're married filing jointly, take that number, take half of it, it's just shy of the $32,000 threshold. What does that mean? Even though I'm collecting nearly $64,000 of Social Security income, not a dollar of it is considered taxable. So many people will say, well, if I have more than $32,000 of Social Security, then 50% of it's taxed. It's not how it works. It's about provisional income, which again only counts 50% of your Social Security benefit. So just walk you through real quick, and all these numbers are calculated in the Athene Retirement Optimizer, but I'll just walk you through. I'm going to jump ahead here. Just walk you through how this would work with the earlies and the laters. So by the time they're 70, the projected Social Security income for the earlies is $61,593, and the inflation-adjusted gap is $32,231. So again, we'll take half of the Social Security and all of the fully taxable IRA distribution we're using to close the gap, and those two numbers together, here they are again, represent the provisional income number for the earlies. So now what the IRS does is they take that provisional income number and they compare it to that first $32,000 threshold. Anything over that threshold is counted at 50%. So here's that number. And they repeat that process. Step 2, start with the provisional income number again. Anything over the second threshold, $44,000, is counted at 35%. Why 35? Because we've already counted everything over 32 at 50. So everything above 44 has already been counted once at 50. You just need to add the additional 35, everything over that $44,000 threshold. Here it is. You add these two numbers together, and this tells you how much of the Social Security benefit is taxed. So I can tell you from practical experience, even this number blows people away, because by and large they think, well, I have $61,000 in Social Security income, 85% of my benefit's going to be taxed. Not the case. And in fact, one could argue that this in and of itself is tax efficient. Of course, when you add in the fully taxable IRA distribution, you get up to that $54,000 number we saw earlier. But how about the laters? What happens with their numbers? So, well, the Social Security is 32% higher. It's 81,302. And of course, the gap need from 70 and beyond is lower because the DRCs are providing more of the income. So take half of that 81,302, all of that fully tax-infested IRA distribution, and here's the provisional income number. So even though we've got 32% more guaranteed income from Social Security, we've only got $53,000 of provisional income that we have to look at. So again, following the same process, anything over the first threshold is counted at 50%. Here you go. And anything over the second threshold at 35, add those together, $13,797. So we've got 32% more Social Security income, and we've got about $9,000 less taxable Social Security income. Now what happens is the fully taxable, the total taxable income, I should say, again, it's 100% of the earned, unearned, tax-free dividend income, which we're assuming this distribution from the IRA to close the gap is all coming from a qualified account. So that's $32,231 plus the $22,173. Here's the taxable income for the earlies out of $93,824. For the laters, we've got a $12,522 fully taxable IRA distribution, and only $13,797 in taxable Social Security. So the actual taxable income is $26,319. This is a mind blower, I can tell you, for virtually everyone that attends any of the workshops that we host. They have no understanding, and certainly something as simplistic as a break-even analysis cannot take into consideration the economic value that Social Security can bring to minimizing the capital you have to commit to the plan, and ultimately protecting the value of the capital against the erosive effects of longevity, inflation, and taxes. So to close this out, I mentioned this earlier, the standard deduction is $27,800. So that completely wipes out just over $26,000 of taxable income. So not only are the earlies effectively fully funded, or the laters, pardon me, but the income is effectively, in this case, income tax free. So let's look at these two strategies side by side and compare them to what we call the 4 areas of concern. So what percentage of the income goal is guaranteed? What percentage is inflation adjusted without any market exposure? What percent of the income is taxable? And then what does the annual guaranteed survivor benefit look like? And here's the difference. So clearly the laters are in a much better place from a pure benefit perspective. 87% of the income is guaranteed. That's the amount attributable to Social Security. 87% is inflation adjusted. Only 28% is taxable, which equates to a zero taxation in this case. And we got nearly $10,000 more, $11,000 more in survivor income. So think about what you'd have to have left in capital to match the survivor income. Never mind providing the income that we need to close the gap. What would you have to have left when one of the benefits falls off? The earlies are going to run out of capital much sooner, obviously, because they're underfunded, woefully underfunded. They need 50% more than they have. So I'll close this out by saying, given what you've learned here today, ask yourself a simple question. Is the real issue, and I touched on this earlier, is the real issue in this country that people aren't saving enough money? Or in many instances, is it possible that the real issue is not working with the right people? They're not working with people who are retirement income specialists who are equipped to really leverage and quantify the impact Social Security can have on a retirement account before anybody makes a decision. A tool that allows you to look down multiple paths and see what's around that bend before you ever choose what path you're going to go down, and avoid the otherwise catastrophic results of a bad decision. So there's one way you can make this better. You can probably imagine what we've done here so far is we've looked at the amount of capital required if we're going to self-fund that income gap. And when I say self-fund, meaning we're going to do some kind of systematic withdrawal to fund that gap for life. And we're going to use safe withdrawals to quantify how much capital we need to do that. But obviously the other option is to fund that gap from whatever age and beyond using the leverage of an annuity. And that's why I partnered with Athene. They have some of the most valuable products in the marketplace today. Their performance-based income solution is second to none. No fees on the Athene Agility product, as an example, is the favorite of my team. We use it virtually exclusively. And while the premium may be a little higher, we're confident that we don't need to earmark additional capital to combat inflation over time because there's no fee, there's no hurdle rate. So if the crediting rate is an average of 2.5%, we're going to more than compete with the inflation assumption we built into the safe withdrawal rate. So Athene's a great partner. They've got great products. Certainly Grant can speak more to that. But my goal, again, was to introduce you to this concept of Social Security optimization, let you know that we built the Athene Retirement Optimizer in conjunction with Athene, and anyone who's contracted with Athene can gain access not only to this tool, the software, but you can also gain access, which puts out a great report, by the way, getting ahead of myself here for a minute. It'll show you the current plan, which is your client's plan. You can stress test their plan, an alternative plan, and ultimately the optimized plan. And we define optimized by the combination that requires you to commit the least amount of capital. So you might be able to see these numbers. If we introduce an annuity, which is what we do under the optimized plan, we're able to deliver the same plan, $582,000 versus $1.2 million if they take early, or $813,000 if they take later. So we take them from woefully underfunded to fully funded to now overfunded. So underfunded by $416,000, nearly fully funded, ultimately overfunded, and we can say unequivocally you've got $217,000 out of this 800,000 you have in retirement assets, we do not need for your retirement income plan. And we can invest that differently, maybe build a discretionary legacy bucket that'll put you in an even more secure position over time. But we highly recommend that you also take advantage of the opportunity to really take a deeper dive into Social Security. If you really want to be a specialist in the retirement income space, you want to own this Social Security world and understand it in a way that maybe no one else does. We've developed, through our company, the Corporation for Social Security Claiming Strategies, we've developed a certification platform focused exclusively on the Social Security retirement system. It's 14 chapters, 200 plus pages. It'll put you in a position where the very first time you face off with somebody about Social Security, you will be viewed as the expert. And that's the key to succeeding in this space. This generation won't value you unless they think you can bring something to them they can't find on their own for free on the internet. So that's the power of our Certified in Social Security Claiming Strategies designation that Grant and Athene has been sponsoring for some of their partners, and I'll leave it up to Grant to follow up with that. But I certainly hope this was a worthwhile investment of your time. I'd love to talk with anybody and answer any questions before we go, and look forward to working with anyone who decides to make this a part of what they do every day. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Andy, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to leave your slide up here so everybody can see your credentials, how to access the corporation website, your email there as well. It looks like we've really covered most of the questions that came in. I saw a couple that came in that were then answered as we went through the presentation. So I don't have any questions queued up for you. I know that your time is valuable, so I think we're going to start the sign-off process here. And I want to open it back up. Grant, if you're still with us, if there's any parting commentary you and Athene would like to use, please, floor is yours, boss.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to just say really respect the time, Andy, and also Scott. Thank you and all Dimes and all of your distribution for joining us today. I'll be following up with everybody, and I would just ask if it's okay to maybe get the distribution report, and we can circle back with everybody and see about them getting that certification that Andy spoke on and help them become Social Security experts outside of what they're already professionals in. So with that, I'll sign off, and I just want to say thank you again so much, everybody, for your time.
Hey, thank you, Grant. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate everyone's participation today in the presentation. We look forward to speaking with you all very, very soon here. And if there are any questions before we get a chance to reach out, don't hesitate to give Athene a call or give Imes a call at 800-255-5055. Have a great sales day, everyone.
Thank you.